Okay, so here we go. Hello, dear Gemini. This is Tarot Lumination with your January 2018 Love and Relationship Report. Okay, let's see what's going on. You know the drill. Do your sun, moon, rising, watching things, and people do the cross-watching too. I know they do that, for the significant other. And I've heard that it works pretty well. Thank you. With the cards well shuffled in advance. Okay, I like to go to the last second though while we're doing the intro chat here, so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, none of it. It's going to be enough to handle with just a few cards that we're using. We're going to be using this crucible spread. You'll see it and understand it in just a moment. I just want to put something out there. Did I put this? So just so that you're aware, okay, Gemini, this massive new Capricorn new moon is like ushering a new chapter, a new era for the next few years. Middle of January, the new moon is going to be Venus, Sun, Moon, Pluto, Mercury, Saturn, all piled up there in your 8th house of intimacy, shared resources, deep, deep soul cleansing, soul healing, okay? Just so that you know. All right. It's for a lot of people, it's the place where everyone dreads to go. It's like, no, I don't want to go there. Nope. Sorry. Let's just do this. Let's make out in the car. Let's hang out. Let's have kids. You get a cool job. You do something really cool, and that will be our life. Okay? No. We're talking about deep intimacy here, Gemini, going deep. Oh, dear. All right, let's have a look. Let's see what's going on. What's going on? I think we already did this. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. We did that, yeah. So I'm just shuffling. I need to feel very comfortable with the cards, okay, Gemini? Just give me a second. All right. All right, that's good. All right, here we go. We're going to cut it up, and then we're going to read for you. Doof. Okay. I like to do wacky cuts that catch the deck by surprise. Okay, this would be your love energy, okay, that you are pulsing and radiating. This would be the significant other, okay? This is going deep into you, okay? Deep into the other and deep to the core here of the relationship itself. Now you can see that this is like a crucible. A crucible is a very tough container, can withstand intense pressures. They use them in laboratories for experiments. And in some way, our whole life is like an experiment, especially in the context of a deeply loving relationship, okay? Especially when you go into 8th house energy of the deep intimacy that occurs inside the relationship, okay? So in a loving relationship, the crucible is loved and invested and maintained to be strong and durable for the long term, the time, But of course, a lot of us prefer to relate just one-to-one as though the rest of this didn't exist. We don't do that here at Tarot Lumination, okay? So in a healthy relationship, you both relate through the relationship and you invest in the relationship like, hey, honey, what can I do for you? Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I was going to ask you, hi, honey, what can I do for you? That kind of thing, okay? So these are the prospects over here, like momentum. And over here, this is going to be like circumstantial energy. And you, Gemini, like everyone else, you're going to make the best of it, all right? So what do we got? Okay. Well, obviously you're turned on by the situation, the opportunities, the circumstances, and you want to make the best of it here. The energy is indicating to you that this is a really good time to advance and go for it, Gemini, okay? So even in the context of love and relationship, you might have a lot you wish to declare. You might be all fired up, let's just say, from what you know already, which is a good way to get you in the zone and flowing for what's coming up. Because by the end of January, things are going to be feeling very different, okay? So, but we're coming in This is supposed to cover the whole of January, but reality checking here that's going on, especially with the Saturn energy, it's going to be very much like a ticking clock. Like the first couple of weeks might feel quite different from the second couple of weeks. And then going into February, a whole new thing with the Aquarius Leo thing going on, those eclipses. All right. So anyway, I see this as exciting and well-intended energy that you can, let's say, ride to your advantage. All right. So what's going on with you? Okay, look, over here, I see this as the attitude of gratitude in action. Like an expression of love is as love does, where you, Gemini, are getting more and more attuned. In fact, maybe you are fully attuned already into the whole concept that, we plant seeds of love in this life. Love, I'm not talking about lovey-dovey romantic stuff. I'm talking about like the nuts and bolts of love. Love is as love does, where it's like, well, what can I do for you? I see that you are in need. Let me offer you this. I can help you right now. I've got some spare so-and-so. Okay? And then at the same time, it's like you're deliberately, consciously planting seeds of love, knowing that there might come periods where you will be the person in need. Okay? And so this is a really good way to understand the laws of attraction and how when you are loving, you are loved. When you are kind and generous, you receive kindness and generosity. When you want to enjoy abundance, you plant seeds of abundance, and so on and so on. And so yeah, it's the energy of generosity. It's the energy of kindness. It's the understanding about giving and receiving. And I think that's really good. I'm glad to see this coming out of you, Gemini, because it's very harmonious energy. It's about seeking balance. Maybe the willingness to, bring more harmony and balance into the context of your relationship is a very, very, very gentle way to get into that deepest, most intimate part of a relationship. Doing things in a very gentle, kind way. You plant the seeds of kindness to like literally the laws of attraction in action, where you attract what you need by your own kindness and generosity. Let's have a look at the other over here. Okay, well, they have the Eight of Cups over here. So as much as you might be trying, Gemini, maybe to nurture or foster something good here, you might be dealing with someone who's actually kind of seeing everything now as history in such a way that maybe you've already, well, not you, maybe they have already felt like at the soul level that they've lived through everything that can be lived in the context of this relationship with you. And that's even if there's including a lot of love that has been shared and exchanged reciprocally back and forth either way. And they might be feeling as though like it doesn't matter, like if you're putting in the extra efforts of kindness and fostering and being there for them in their moments of weakness, it's just like, okay, I love you, I get you, but this part of my life is done right now. And it's time for me to move on spiritually. I don't really have a master plan, frankly. I don't really know where I'm going to go, how we're going to figure this stuff out, because there's still all the love here. But sometimes people outgrow each other. A lot of the people who watch this channel are in the United States, but it goes all over the world. But, like decades ago, the energy of divorce, I don't want to taint the reading, it was very, very taboo. But nowadays, people give each other permission to engage, relate, and disengage for their own spiritual healing and welfare and advancement, and the same for the other one, on the understanding that sometimes it's better to face the truth about the situation where something might be over, rather than trying to hold on and make it work when it's not, because all you're doing is like slowing down your evolution, their evolution, and everyone else's. As gruesome as it is sometimes to part ways, sometimes it's the most loving and healing thing to do. Now, some countries and cultures, you can't do that. It is still taboo, very deeply frowned on, not even an option. But if you're watching this and you're in a place where you have the ability to um, commune, engage, relate, bond, and then mature and get to the point where, if without planning it, there's no malice here in any way, shape, or form. But if someone has outgrown you, Gemini, or you have outgrown them, and they feel as though, well, they can't go any further in the situation, then if they feel as though they are drawn to, new levels of spiritual, uh, let's say, seeking, then, like, the kind thing, the really kind thing to do would be to let them have that and be that. Okay? Now let's have a look. What's going on deeper inside of you? Okay? Okay. Well, this is very much to do with alchemy. So deep down inside, you might be experiencing a kind of to me, it feels like that energy of fermenting and frothing and brewing, where there are some very gentle energies here and here. But in the context of this relationship, there's something pretty sparked up and fiery going on that may jar. Where this is coming from, this could be circumstantial. Maybe there are people or energies or circumstances that are distracting the two parties from the love of the relationship, to the point where in some ways it might not even be salvageable, and the energy might be in a sort of equilibrium, frothing, fermenting condition right now. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You, Gemini, might be doing your best, what you feel is kind and generous and loving, and with all the best of intentions to, like, save the day. That's great. Maybe you're being encouraged to save the day. Maybe this is just a phase for the significant other, while deep down, you might be realizing you have to really go deep, deep, deep into soul level here in order to get to the next level of understanding of this relationship with this person, where you have to become the alchemist, you have to become the healer, where deep down inside you have to go above and beyond. That is a true expression of love, when you go way beyond your own comfort zone. Like, this might be a natural act of kindness right now, but you might be feeling deep down inside you're going to have to go to the point of deep soul merger in order to do the healing. Okay? And maybe that's something you wouldn't normally want to do. But deep down inside, you might be aware that there's no other option here. So taking on the role of the alchemist, taking on the role of the deep soul healer, where you might not even have any words or language for, like, the hows are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? What's the language that we're going to use to do this alchemical healing thing inside the relationship, where the whole idea is healing of self, healing of other, healing of the relationship. There's no indication here except that there's perhaps a desire for good things to happen. Okay? Let's have a look deeper into the other over here. Okay. Well, it might be that they're very determined to have a life of their own. They might be struggling with a lot of deep, deep soul issues inside themselves, which are kind of rearing up and eventually are coming to the surface. And it might be that it's coming to the surface in the feeling that they just feel, not that they're left out or dumped or rejected, but like they've got stuff to figure out for themselves, okay? Like, it's nothing to do with you, but you might feel as though if their energy is moving away from you, you might feel that in the context of a relationship as one of these big waves of separation. In other words, we intimate, we separate, we intimate, and we separate. And for you, Gemini, the whole subject matter of this 3-year cycle, starting here in January, middle January, is all about intimacy and separation, the natural ebb and flow that occurs inside the relationship. You could say this is the card of the crucible. This is the crucible energy in which the separation and the intimacy occurs. And in our physical bodies, the intimacy typically, if it's, if it's done right, it can be very satisfying, very beautiful. And of course, you want that to endure. But of course, like, you don't want it to be like this forever, because then it just turns into codependency and bondage. Whereas instead, allowing the liberty to separate can be so healing, so liberating, incredibly liberating, but at the same time frightening, because you feel like, oh my God, I'm losing you, I'm losing you, I'm losing you. But then, like, the natural forces of gravity pull people back together again. Oh. And so you start to understand the deep waveforms, like the deep ocean currents that exist inside a relationship, as opposed to the stuff on the surface, the froth, the waves, the sparkles, the sun, and the palm beaches, and all the fun stuff. We're talking about the stuff way below the surface. Okay. So with the significant other over here, Gemini, it might be that they are going through their own soul evolutionary path right now, which is feeling to them like, I really want to get my life in control and what works for me. In the context of relationship, sure, but what works for me, which means acknowledging that there's a lot of love here, also understanding that there's more to learn, more for them to go to understand, but they might not have a clue what it is. They just know that there's the calling, okay? So they feel called to the call of the Spirit, okay? Because deep down, it's like they want to be in control and ownership of their life. They might feel as though there are limitations in the context of the relationship, which make them want to move away, move along, move on, like a trigger to spiritual evolution. But deep down inside, what it is more to do with is their own self coming into their own understanding of themselves, where this is their own internal journey about wrestling their own shadow self with their own light self, and bringing it into alignment, owning their power, and making clear, conscious decisions that they want to be in charge of their life. They don't want to be just flapping around, wondering what's happening. Like, are we in? Are we out? What's going on here? What's not going on? And you might be sensing that as oh my gosh, I'm losing you. I am losing you. Whereas in fact, we're talking about the context of a relationship where, in this learning experience with Saturn, this is exactly what you need to know. You need to understand what it's like to be in a pool of deep intimacy, where you almost lose all sense of identity of self, and then you release and reintegrate everything that you learned and experienced. And it's not the end of the world. It's not total bust up separation things. It's two people individuating here, okay? So, this is very strong energy. The energy is still very strong here. The currents are very strong. The desire to grow and evolve and live out a new sense of mission and vision and passion is very evident, and it's very, let's say, supportive of you. It's just that the experience and the start off of the experience might be very different for both of you. And this is the energy with which you are entering this new Saturn cycle, okay? So it might feel as though you're putting yourself at odds with each other, where you're starting off with a deep moment of deep separation. So the first challenge, the first lessons will be, how do we come back to intimacy? Where you get to maintain your integrity and identity. You get to maintain your integrity and identity. Let's have a look. Okay, it's being willing to go deep. Okay, with the moon card here, my feeling is for you, Gemini. Remember, this is your reading about you. It's not a couple's reading. It's the willingness to go deep and trust in the higher meaning and the higher purpose of this, and treat the whole journey as a massive learning and healing experience, where it's all about the love and the healing. It's literally all about bringing the healing power of love into the context of a working relationship, okay? Where you don't have to feel as though, you might be losing everything. Instead, it's just the natural ebb and flow. It's just that you're feeling it at the energy of deep currents more than before. So it might be more scary. When you get to those moments of separation, they can be much more frightening, okay? And then you have to come back again. So it's like facing the fear. It's almost like you are being initiated, okay? dear Gemini, it's almost like get ready because you're going to be entering this new chapter. There's no turning back. So it might get a bit wobbly where the only guidance that you have is the deepest intuition. Like your compass doesn't work here, your smartphone doesn't work here, your tablet doesn't work here, your GPS system doesn't work here. Okay? So you have to rely on deep soul trust, okay? So in that context, you're going to meet all your own spooks and shadows in the context of the relationship. It looks like they're very determined to live through that and make that happen. And it looks like you're determined and willing to, let's say, live through the healing process that would occur here. So that's very good, but it has to be understood and acknowledged and, you know, like a serious reality check here that this relationship dynamic right now could take you to, you know, places that you would never normally choose to go, but you don't have an option right now because by your conscious choices, you are going deep and you're going to do it even though you might not know the curriculum. Like no one has actually written out to you, dear Gemini, here's the curriculum for the new Saturn cycle for the next 3 years. You're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And then that horrible thing's going to happen, then that horrible thing, then that horrible thing, and you're going to figure it out, you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to come out the other side qualified. Boom. Go. No, it's not like that, Gemini. You're literally immersing yourself in the pool of the deep unconscious here and trusting it, okay? It's a healing journey for you. It's a self-actualization journey for the other. They come into their full ownership of self. You become much more attuned into the, let's say, the healing power of love in the context of a relationship that may shake you to the very core, okay? Where does this lead us? Okay, cool. Queen of Cups. It makes me feel here for you, Gemini. It gets you, let's just say, I mean, this is kind of ridiculous in a way because this is just a little January reading, but I'm feeling a long-term trajectory here with the spread and the way the story is unfolding. And I think it's just simply because we're facing that massive Capricorn new moon, which is going to be like a massive imprint on all of us for the next 3 years. And this is just your version of it. So what it feels to me is like you come out the other side with more love than you know what to do with. You attain mastery, and it's through commitment, through kindness, through deliberate acts of healing and allowing yourself to be healed, giving the other room to be themselves and grow and evolve in their own journey as an individual, but in the context of the relationship, because your own evolution, their own evolution to this level of coming into this level of awareness and ownership of love can only come about in the context of this type of relationship. So it involves a lot of courage, okay? It's going to involve and require a tremendous amount of courage, commitment to healing and bravery to get through this and come out the other side fully qualified, certified, and with a whole bucket of love that you can share, not just between yourselves and each other, but with the whole world. This is very good for the whole world. What's good for you, what's good for them, what's good for the whole relationship is good for the whole world, okay? So let's leave it at that. I don't want to spoil it by saying any more. Thank you, Gemini, and please make the best of it. Reinterpret however you want, okay? Or just do what we can here at Tarot Illumination. Bye-bye, and all the best.